Hello, everybody. Welcome to a little inquiry today. So I just finished a group session, and it's an open, free, monthly inquiry forum where anyone can show up and just look at what it is they're thinking, and a beautiful conversation in self-inquiry with 4 questions, known as the Work of Byron Katie. And the person bringing the thought to inquiry was having the belief that she shouldn't criticize herself. She shouldn't have critical thoughts about herself. And so looking at that, it's almost like, looking at thought with thought and just the concentric circles of thought. Here I am critically thinking, and I shouldn't be, is another thought. But I love what other people were sharing when we just pondered for a moment, other people in the group, what they noticed they didn't like about themselves. And somebody said, I don't like thinking about food. Such any kind of addictive process where it looks like our mind gets taken over with kind of whatever we're calling obsessive thinking or compulsive thinking. I don't like that I think about drinking. I don't like that I think about smoking. I don't like that I see those people doing that over there, and I used to do that, or I'm trying not to do that. And I don't like it. I get frightened by that predicament. I don't like that I'm insecure. I don't like that I get scared or in that situation. Just noticing, somebody said, I don't like that I block something in myself because of past history and trauma. I don't like that that's happening. I was just watching that thing rise, noticing an experience that's uncomfortable and troubling. I myself experiencing all the binge eating that I did in the past looks terrible. Cycle feels awful. Looks obvious I shouldn't be thinking whatever I'm thinking or doing that behavior. Lots of attention to researching how to stop thinking about that and how to not be myself and get over this whole thing. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because of course I'd be drawn to where is peace and what's happening that I'm not seeing it. I also like to really notice, if there's anybody that's been in your life where they are having thinking and you believe they shouldn't have that thinking. Look at them. That person is self-critical. They're too insecure. They're going for something that looks like it won't work very well. They're giving themselves less than what they could really have. They're making a mistake. They're going to suffer. They're going to pay for that later. They're going to have trouble. And they're all the same types of things we'll think about ourselves in our own minds. That's going to hurt. That does hurt. I wish they'd stop. Have you ever had somebody come in and say, you shouldn't think this way about that. It's not true. And it's tricky because it's deeply embedded, and it's for many reasons that it's there, and some unconscious, old, childlike, and innocent. So noticing all the thinking that we have, noticing where it goes. What an amazing thing. We get drawn to the Work of Byron Katie because we read about it. At least when I first encountered it and read the book, Loving What Is. And I read it cover to cover, and I was fascinated with people having incidents and situations and concerns about other people and very frightening things that had happened in their lives. Very difficult, that maybe everybody would agree, oh my God, that's horrible. I hope that never happens to me. And looking at a situation like that and actually taking it through the inquiry process by identifying the thinking that rose up in that shouldn't happen. And in this case of this morning's group, I shouldn't think about that thing happening. I shouldn't think in this particular way. Same kind of idea, but now we're attacking the thinking. And some people, I noticed, I think I was doing this myself without even recognizing it for a while. I'm going to do the work to get rid of that thought. I will apply these 4 questions because I read about the incredible lightness and insights that people have around questioning their beliefs and watching beliefs change. We all know beliefs do change. They relax. You once believed in fairies or Santa Claus, and now you definitely do not. So they change for sure. So we're aware of that, the volatility of believing. And then so we see the benefits, but something can happen in there. I need to press on with this thing that I believe I shouldn't think, because then I'll be a different person. And so I have a motive in applying. It's my new project, applying the work. Who would you be without any of those stories? What if you didn't need to actually do anything? Very strange, because here I am, like a committed and very sincere inquirer for many, many years, and I love it so much, and that's what I do with people. But what if it's not necessary? Inquiry. Like, not necessary within mind that I should get rid of some kind of thinking or some kind of energy. I'm not doing it for that. Maybe at the beginning it looked so amazing to recognize people completely feeling like a giant weight lifted off them by noticing the power of their thoughts and how they had been holding something. And then what happens when we can turn our attention in a different direction. Instead of staring at what shouldn't be there, I can just look over here instead. I don't have to work on getting rid of that thing over here. I can just look at something different, and how amazing that is. And I had those experiences initially doing the work. My father died. Is it true? Yeah, it looks like he died, but his body is not here anymore. What does that mean to me? I need him. I miss him. I want him. He should be present. I can't hear his voice. I need the body to be here in order to be happy. Whatever death is, absence, lost, gone forever. Is that true? Is everything I'm thinking about, that death, true? And something dropped away, and I was like, wow, I've been carrying around this story of the tragedy of my father dying young from cancer, missing him so much and not getting the experience of having a dad for all those years. And suddenly I actually realized I had a dad. I could tap into his voice. His DNA was in my system. I didn't have to just kind of stare intently at the absence, and how beautiful the whole process of his death had been, and how loving and how much heartbreaking joy there was in all of it, with the family and friends and people gathering, and how I learned something and learned how to stand on my own 2 feet, which is what Adyashanti says is the definition of enlightenment, spiritual teacher. So just seeing that was absolutely startling and amazing and incredibly enlightening. But then looking at other things that would show up very repetitively, very habitual thought, very repetitive, persistent thought that looked negative and difficult. And so this woman was doing the work this morning on, I shouldn't be self-critical. I should love myself. And we can still apply the work, just noticing, I just said what the work with an agenda, but now looking at that agenda, simply with the 4 questions. Is it true? I shouldn't have this criticism. I shouldn't have these thoughts about food and eating and my body, and I shouldn't, shouldn't. This thinking that I'm doing. Who would I be without that story? Who would you be without the story of thinking? Even though I notice we see how powerful thinking looks. But what if there's something far more powerful? Who created thought? How does thought get born? How does thought happen? Did you invent these thoughts that you shouldn't be having? Did you decide to have them in your brain? They just come, don't they? And who would I be if I wasn't frightened by thought? What if in turning around this belief, what if I should think it if I'm thinking it? What if, brain is thinking it here? Mind is doing this thinking. I should. And the benefits in this session were beautiful. Even having everybody share what they were looking at about themselves that shouldn't be present, and then just seeing, could it be a benefit that wasn't present, that was present in their lives, that kind of thinking came across their mind and resulted in whatever it resulted, and just looking at this persistence and have it okay that it has risen up. For me, it certainly has. Difficult thinking has been a path to a most astonishing peace. Even thinking that I believed should not be there at some point. What if I could welcome even that thinking, that, personality that I'm calling defect? What if it should be there if it is? What if I stopped arguing with the way the mind is producing thought? Even addictive patterns in thought. Who would I be if I didn't believe them and didn't need to argue with them or rebel against them or resist them or enforce something else or apply willpower? When I noticed just thought, if I looked into a basket of thoughts, I would see nothing. What is thought? It's just a blip of energy. It's only another thought that says that's a bad thought. So just feeling that grounded space, that space underneath, like the top of the ocean is a churning, stormy waters, and just sinking downward underneath the surface. It's very quiet, very calm, very steady. Whatever's up on top can just pass over. Who would I be without my story of having to be against something about myself and against something about the behavior? And I can also get to look at it like, wow, if I notice it coming up over and over again, looking how it's rushing in to protect me or help me out to do something. And there might be another way to do this or protect myself or be accessing the love and peace available to me without that thought needing to arrive. And I'm not going to be against that thought knocking on my door for the rest of my life. I'm willing to have that show up if it does. What I've noticed is the object of my obsessions, they have faded out. And maybe a new one has appeared that's got more subtle form, looking a little bit different. And then I just get to be with that one and see and notice how familiar it is, and give that love as well. Love, kindness, noticing it is not who I am. So one of the most wonderful aspects of that inquiry we all just did together was I shouldn't criticize myself. Turned around. I already don't. I don't criticize myself. So I should, finding benefits, and they were genuine, but I actually already don't criticize myself. I do love myself. Something has been here the whole time that's incredibly unconditionally accepting. Except for my thinking, I'm okay. I'm here. I'm present. I'm human. There's nothing to blame, nothing to remove or cut out of myself. Love is present here. And maybe anyone who's ever criticized me, and then myself who's also criticized me, has actually been one of the most incredible paths of awakening love that I've ever experienced. So hope you'll join me sometime on Friday inquiries. And we do those at least once a month, first Friday of the month often. And if you ever want to just know what else is going on at Work with Grace, visit workwithgrace.com and make sure you get on the mailing list, because that's really the only way anyone's consistently going to learn about retreats that are happening, or the Eating Peace program, or Year of Inquiry that starts every September or January. So who would you be without your story? What an exciting journey. Never gets old. Lots of love.